Namaste viewers. In this particular video clipping, I am making an attempt to explain to you the concept of aggregate supply. Aggregate supply refers to the money value of all the final goods and services that all the production units of an economy are planning to supply during an accounting year. So when I say value of all the final goods and services, you will immediately recollect that I am referring to the concept of national income. So, aggregate supply is nothing but the national income, and you also know that it is a summation of all the factor incomes through the income method. So, even as the factors receive their factor income, they are going to set aside some money for consumption expenditure and also the savings. So Y, which is national income, can be represented as C plus S. So aggregate supply is nothing but Y, and Y is C plus S. So let's move on to the diagrammatic explanation and the tabular explanation of the aggregate supply concept. So here I have the detail for you on screen. The aggregate supply curve first. The aggregate supply, it is a 45-degree line indicating the income and the expenditure equality. The specialty of this line is that it breaks the entire quadrant into exactly two halves, and the vertical distance between the aggregate supply, any point on the aggregate supply to that of the x-axis will be the same as the horizontal distance between the y-axis and that particular line, a point on that particular line, right? So aggregate supply is nothing but a reference line here, which is a 45-degree line that indicates the income and the expenditure equality. This schedule, it gives you the income, consumption, savings and aggregate supply details. Income and consumption behavior, you are already aware of that through the aggregate demand concept. So the additional detail is nothing but the savings and the aggregate supply. So when there is zero level of income, you know that there will be this autonomous consumption expenditure because the population has to survive, and that is because of the dis saving, which is given as minus 40. So at this level of income, the aggregate supply is 40 minus 40, which is 0. And when income goes up to 100, there is still an excess of consumption expenditure over the income to an extent of 20. That is 120 is a consumption and 100 is what is the income. So minus 20 is the dis-saving, and thereby 120 minus 20 becomes the aggregate supply, which is 100. Now when income is going to reach 100, consumption also, income is going to reach 200. The consumption also reaches 200. So income is equal to consumption, or that is a break even. That is also the zero saving point. That is, all income is spent on consumption expenditure, nothing to save, or zero savings. So AS will also be 200 plus 0, that is 200. Now beyond the break even, when you observe the income is increasing, consumption is also increasing, but there is no more excess consumption expenditure over that of the income. See that 280 is what is the consumption expenditure, 360 is the consumption expenditure, but income is more than that. Income is 300, income is 400. So finally there is a positive savings here to an extent of 20 and 40, and this is because the essential requirements are already purchased by the population. The basic consumption expenditure is taken care of. So over and above that, the population wishes to save, or there is a positive saving. So till the break even point, there is a excess of consumption expenditure over the income, and at the break even point the consumption expenditure is equal to the income, and beyond the break even point you observe that there is a positive saving or the consumption expenditure is well under control, income is more than the consumption expenditure, right? So on the whole, from this table you understand that C plus S is what is the aggregate supply, which is nothing but Y. Yeah, so this is the aggregate supply concept to you. So now you have understood the concept of aggregate demand and aggregate supply. With that, we will move on to the next concept, the concept of consumption function. So this is nothing but the diagrammatic explanation of the consumption which you have learnt already. So a very quick reference into this. Yeah, only the income and consumption detail from the previous table has been taken and put up here. So look at what's happening. Income is increasing 0, 100, 200, 300, 400, and consumption 40, 120. Both of them are increasing at a constant rate, indicating that consumption is also a linear curve, income is also a linear curve. Again, for simplicity's sake, both are assumed to be linear functions. And you already know that consumption and the income, they are positively related. As income increases, the consumption expenditure will also increase. So yeah, this is what you saw in the previous slide. Look at this portion where you have this saving, the shaded area, right? So on the y-axis, to an extent of OC, there is an autonomous consumption which is represented by the letter C bar. From the table, when income is 0, you know that consumption can be 40. So that is the autonomous consumption. And here the income increases, consumption also increases. So you see that there is an excess of consumption expenditure over the income, and the shaded area is nothing but the saving. And E, point E is exactly where the income is equal to the consumption, where the consumption curve is cutting the income curve, and that is supposed to be the zero saving curve. Yeah, and above that or beyond this break even point, as income continues to increase, that is beyond this level 200, when income is increasing, now the excess of consumption expenditure is curtailed there. You see that? Yeah, the income curve lies above the consumption curve, and there you observe that there is going to be this positive savings area represented there. Yeah, so E is the break even. To the left of the break even, there is a dis-saving shown, indicating C is more than Y. To the right of the break even, Y is more than C, or there is a positive savings represented. So basically, consumption is a function of income, and the detail that's given to you is the consumption curve. Yeah, so now it's time for you to understand the propensities to consume. So basically, there are two propensities to consume, that is the average propensity to consume and the marginal propensity to consume. So what is this average propensity to consume? That is nothing but a specific level of consumption at a specific level of income. Yeah, so look at the diagram. Now CC is what is the consumption curve, and at a point A on the consumption curve, you observe that there is a specific level of consumption to an extent of ON. On the y-axis, you know that expenditure is measured, that is the consumption expenditure. So ON is a consumption expenditure. Yeah, on that CC line at A, at point A, and this consumption ON is possible because of this level of income OY1. Yeah, so this is nothing but the graphical representation of the concept of average propensity to consume. So I told you average propensity to consume is nothing but a specific level of consumption at a specific level of income, or APC is nothing but C by Y. Yeah, in other words, it's a ratio of consumption expenditure to the corresponding level of income. So in the diagram, that's what you see. If CC is going to be the consumption curve, then on this curve at point A, the consumption expenditure is ON at a specific level of income, which is OY1. So the average propensity to consume at point A will be equal to C by Y, or it will be ON divided by OY1, right? So this is how the specific level of consumption can be shown at a specific level of income, or in other words, APC can be shown through a diagram. Now, what do you have to understand through a table about the APC is there in front of you? Behavior of the average propensity to consume. Yeah, look at that. The table represents income and consumption, and APC is calculated there. APC, you know that it is C by Y, or the ratio of consumption expenditure to the specific level of income. So at this level, when income is 0 and when consumption is 40, it would be 40 by 0. So that cannot be calculated. That is your infinity. 40 by 0, that's infinity. And then when income is going to become 100, there is this consumption expenditure which is 120. So 120 by 100 is what is APC. So that's 1.2. Now this is break even. You know that income is equal to consumption. So APC is C by Y, which is 200 by 200, thereby it is 1. Yeah. And then you see that when income is going to increase beyond this break even, your consumption, yeah, it's only 280, and then your income is 300. So 280 by 300, you see that it is 0.93. So from this, what do you understand? From this tabular representation of the average propensity to consume, you understand that the APC, it can be more than 1, and then at break even, when income is equal to consumption, it is equal to 1, and then after the break even, the APC, it becomes less than 1. So on the whole, if you look into this particular column APC, you observe that as income is increasing, APC is falling. APC is falling. Yeah, APC is falling. Initially it's more than 1, and then it is equal to 1, and then it becomes less than 1. But then can it become 0? Can it become negative? No, never. Because consumption expenditure, you know that it is always positive. Even when the income is going to be 0, there is still a positive consumption. There is always this autonomous consumption concept. So APC, it can never become 0. Numerator doesn't become 0. APC is after all C by Y. So C doesn't become 0. So your APC can never become 0. Also, your consumption can never become negative. Thereby APC can never be negative. Right? So that's what is the detail summed up there for you. APC can be more than 1 during this saving. APC is equal to 1 at break even. APC is less than 1 at break even. APC falls with the increase in income, but then APC can never be 0. Also, APC can never be negative, right? So that is the average propensity to consume concept. In the next clipping, we will see the marginal propensity to consume.